Greetings, curious and opinionated speculators. Welcome to the Speculators Reading Room. I'm coming to you using a pen name, Mark Lacunas. I use a pen name in order to separate my professional life from my novel writing because the two are incompatible. I'm currently in the city of Bozeman, Montana. Flew here actually 3 days ago from my home in North Carolina. You can see behind me that I'm in a hotel room, and that's a horse that's decorating my hotel room. To my 2 o'clock, there's a big buffalo portrait adorning my hotel room. And further on in the suite, actually, there's a black bear, there's a coyote, and there's a mountain goat. So I love big sky country. I love the Rocky Mountains. I love the Northwest Rocky Mountain states, and I love the wildlife that's out here. The cool thing about where I am at Bozeman, Montana itself is located fairly close proximity to Grand Teton National Park and Yellowstone National Parks. And if you get a chance to come to NEPHCON 2026, which I'm told will be here in Bozeman, Montana again next year, take advantage of the opportunity to see the United States of America in this area. So I'm here attending a conference called NEPHCON 2025. NEPHCON is put on by Tim Alberino Productions. NEPHCON is short for Nephilim Conference. And what are Nephilim? Well, Nephilim are, the offspring of angelic beings who intermingled with human women. And that is not, fantasy. That's actually recorded in Genesis chapter 6 of the Holy Bible. And so the Nephilim were the fallen ones, and the offspring of the angelic beings and human women ended up what the Bible calls as men of renown, and they were giants. And so these giants and men of renown were eventually judged, and they became banished through death and punished. And, we won't get into the theology, but then, the conference is named NEPHCON, and it gives you an idea that this is, potentially on the fringe for many people, but not necessarily much longer, because more and more, the world headlines and national headlines are including things about UFOs and strange occurrences in our world. So, what are the topics in NEPHCON? Well, topics range from UFOs to even Bigfoot, portals, transhumanism, artificial intelligence. When is our government going to disclose what it knows about non-human intelligent technology, non-human entities that are reported in our news cycle? And those are the kind of topics. As a novelist, this is a great place to be enriched with inspirational information. It will definitely help fill in some of the white space in my imagination as I press forward with my novel writing. Once again, the Subjugation Conspiracy series includes the pilot. The first book, the second book is Pandemonium, Escape from Abduction, and the third book is titled Onslaught. Now, the third book is currently in writing, but it is not done, and I expect to have it done this calendar year, 2025. The first book, actually, that scene starts off with inside the control room of an alien UFO. It's being actually piloted by a transhuman with two gray alien crew members. And, so I speculate that because it's two different species, and I personally believe that the gray aliens are synthetic life forms. They are developed like in a laboratory, and they are programmed through genetic programming for some specific task. In this case, one's task is, weapons and navigation, and the other one is tasked with mission compliance, sort of like a political officer in the old days of Russian submarines and surface ship navy. And yeah, so those are the two gray alien crew members and the transhuman pilot. And so their cockpit resource management, which is an official term in airline flight, and it speaks to the professionalism in protocols for safety of flight. And I speculate that the CRM, or the cockpit resource management of the UFO crew, is lacking. So much so that they actually end up with a midair collision with a US fighter jet. The UFO is mortally wounded and it crashes in the gates of the Arctic National Park in the northern mountain ranges of Alaska. This crash is monitored by good guys and bad guys, and the good guys and bad guys now are in a race to who gets to the crash site first, who gets control of either living or dead the UFO crew. And yeah, so it's a desperate race. I would just put it that way. The good guys in this particular case, they gain the upper hand, and they find the transhuman pilot alive but very severely injured. They take him into custody and whisk him away to a secret location where they attempt to take good care of him. However, because he's transhuman, you know, he has brain chip installed, in his skull. It's a very complex installation. There's no way they can remove it, and they don't know how or what functions it's controlling his entire body. They also, in the course of taking care of him, find out that he is hybridized. His genome has been altered. And so taking care of the transhuman pilot is somewhat challenging. He remains in a coma for a good bit of the book, but when he emerges, some startling information is revealed, but not enough. The good guys are now aware of, high potential for a global conspiracy, which is rooted actually in biblical narrative. And there is a struggle for control of the earth, dominion of the earth, and subjugation of humanity. And, I don't want to get too far into it because I fully developed this story over the course of 3 books. So that gives you an idea what's going on in the book Pilot. The second book is Pandemonium. Pandemonium opens with Xiomara, who is a university professor in San Jose, Costa Rica. She hails a cab, gets in, she gets kidnapped, she gets drugged, and she emerges from a drug-induced sort of a blackout, unconsciousness, as she's bumping along in a stake bed truck in the deep jungles of Parque Nacional de Quetzales, the Quetzal National Park in the jungles of Costa Rica. She wakes up and she's in a bed with 20 other, the bed of this truck with 20 other women who are emerging from their drug-induced unconsciousness as well. And as the truck trundles and thumps to a stop, she realizes that there's this huge transport aircraft, which is in fact a non-human technological flying vehicle large enough to carry at least 200 of these kidnapped women in multiple stake bed trucks. And as one of the women emerges from her drug-induced coma, she puts up a fight, and the thugs that do all the kidnapping, they give all their attention to this struggling woman. Well, our Xiomara, our university professor, sees an opportunity to escape in the jungle, and she escapes unnoticed, and she gets away with it. And eventually, after her own adventures and misadventures in emerging from the jungle, she finds her way to make contact with the good guys, who she has had a lifelong relationship with. And yeah, so they come and they rescue her and take her away to a secret location for safety. Of course, the bad guys cannot tolerate, number one, the pilot is still in the clutches and control of the good guy. They can't find the pilot or the good guys involved. And now there's this escaped university professor who obviously is witness to the technology that's being used to kidnap and abduct large scale um, abductions of women. These women are being used for unthinkable procreative purposes. And that is fully developed later, actually, in book 3. But I'm giving you some insights since you're paying attention to my YouTube channel. And you deserve a little tidbit, a little bit of a teaser. Yeah, so the bad guys, because they're worried about Xiomara running loose and being able to tell people what is going on, and she represents a direct threat to their grand plan, which is ultimately to panic the entire Earth with the threat or risk of a UFO alien invasion. And the Earth will be so shaken by this risk or this threat that they will cry out for someone to protect them and to solve this threat of an alien invasion. That's their grand plan, and they cannot risk Xiomara exposing what's going on. So they task a very sadistic former army general who was he was given a bad conduct discharge and actually imprisoned, and he faked his own death to get out of prison, and the bad guys hired him, and he's a sadistic murderous killer, and he is now on the trail trying to find Xiomara and the pilot. And the source, of course, the conflict in book 2 revolves around the bad guy trying to find the university professor and the pilot. There's romance, there's conflict, there's introduction of ideas and technologies that are actually in today's headlines. And I do that on purpose because unchecked, some of these technologies do present a risk to humanity. And so I'm illustrating how they could be used for good and for bad. That's book 2. I don't really want to tell you too much more about book 1 and 2. Book 3 is Onslaught, and I'm not going to tell you much about Onslaught, except my intentions are to create a seismic shock to the reader, something the readers deserve in terms of entertainment, but also to provoke thought. Onslaught, book 3, sometime late in 2025. So attending NEPHCON, it kind of enriched my imagination. And yeah, so I'm excited about writing book 3, and I'll be telling you more about that in the future. Follow-on episodes for my channel, I'll be discussing not only some passages straight from my novels, but also some of the topics that were covered during NEPHCON 2025. And I think you will be pleasantly entertained and also provoke some of your thought. I do expect people to think and even to speculate what all of this means, not just what this channel covers, but also the news cycle that's out there, and also your faith and your own interpretations of the world around you. This is important to me. So now I'm going to segue because I want to spend a little bit of time talking about the protagonists in my novels. So the protagonist, the chief protagonist, his nickname is Jib, and he prefers to go by Jib, J-I-B, Jib. And he's a fairly ancient, aged individual, and he apparently has unlimited resources. He is a fierce source and force for good. He's a humanitarian, and he has a global fleet of humanitarian aircraft, and he has his headquarters somewhere in the mysterious northwest corner of Wyoming. Closest point that is legitimate for you to research would be Cody, Wyoming, and Jib has a very large campus there in the mountains near Cody, Wyoming. Unlimited resources, unlimited capabilities, sometimes working on the edge or on the very fringes of what is legal in order for him to execute the goodness of his missions. So that kind of tease you on the good guys. Now, the the antagonists, the bad guys. They're really headquartered out of um, Belgium, Western Europe. The lead of the bad guys there, his name is the Commissioner, and he's tapped into some really wicked ancient resources, including an interdimensional council of beings that are very ancient and have incredible intelligence. And then it kind of tees up, the good guy and bad guy profiles to further tease you into buying the books. Once again, let me mention that The Pilot and Pandemonium are both ebooks available right now on Amazon Kindle Digital Press and on Barnes and Noble Press. They're available for you to purchase and read as ebooks. And if you're interested in this kind of fringe topics, which are less fringe than they ever been fringed before, encourage you to pick them up and read them. Follow the channel. I'm asking you to follow the channel not because I want to sell books on it. That's a sideshow compared to the opportunity to actually talk about some important things that are emerging and developing in our world today. Hence, the title of the channel, The Speculators Reading Room. Listen, I am Mark Lacunas. I'm signing off, and I want to leave you with this thought. You gotta wonder, or you will never know.